Hello, my people. Good evening and welcome to this discussion. For about 2 days now, we all, especially those in Nigeria, we were somehow shocked to get the news that the CEO of Sujimoto, a logistics company that is much more focused on real estate, was declared wanted by EFCC. To some who are very conversant with the social media these days, one would be like, it should be because of the numerous accusations that he has been having recently, that has been circulating recently. But no, as he came out in his declaration that circulated on social media, he revealed to us that the issue was not with his investors or clients, but with the Enugu State Government. And not long after his own declaration, the Enugu State Government came out also to make their own pronouncement, raising some questions. In all this brouhaha, I would like to say, when something happens like this, it is true as Africans, especially Nigerians, we are pushed to throw blames from one end to another. But I want to say, as a business consultant, when you're doing business, problems are bound to arise, no matter who you are. When you are embarking on the business, one of the things which we don't always take into consideration is how to handle problems. That is why it is very important to work with a business consultant that can prepare you for the eventual problems that can come in your business operations. You can't escape problems. If you don't have problems with your clients, if you don't have with your partners, if you may have with your employees, you may have with your collaborators, there must be problem. But where the issue is how you handle this problem. It is very important how you handle this problem and come out of the problems with your head high, preserving your business brand and also preserving your business relationship with people. Let's come back to the issue of Sujimoto and Enugu State Government. In this scenario, after going through everything, I will tell you that both parties are wrong. And both parties, they lack the business humility, the business understanding that going to court is never the best decision in business. If you're doing business with your clients, with your partner, do everything possible to avoid going to court. Because once you go to court, it shows that you lack understanding. Sometimes, the funniest thing is that in almost all cases, businessmen find themselves in front of judges and lawyers who understand very little about business. So if you're doing business, avoid everything going to court. Looking at both declarations, the Enugu State Government and the CEO of Sujimoto himself, there are things we must understand here, because sometimes like this, for young business people coming up or even other business people, it is always good to understand some of these things. The first thing you must understand here is that the contract was not awarded properly. And there are elements to justify this. Sujimoto himself said he went to Enugu for another project and they brought another one. And the Enugu State Government also said they gave him money for 22 smart education institutions. Oh God, how can you award 22 construction projects to one company? And Sujimoto himself if you're going in for a contract, seek to know if the rules are respected. Because once you start from the beginning that rules are not respected, you're going to fail. You're finding yourself into a deep shit. Sujimoto said he could not realize the job with that amount, and yet they were pushing him. That was very wrong. Don't accept a contract amount that you know you cannot get it realized. It is better to say no in business with integrity than to accept something and you destroy your own self. The second thing here is the scope of the contract. I mentioned earlier, awarding 22 smart green schools projects in different parts of Enugu State to one company. How possible is that? Even the Enugu State Government itself that is coming out to make all these declarations, they should be ashamed of themselves. How on earth will you take a whole project of 22 smart green schools across Enugu and give to one company? How big is that company? So you see that even the Enugu government itself was at default. I don't know much about awarding contracts in the Nigerian context, in the Nigerian law, but I don't believe that the law will permit you to give 22 construction projects to one company that has no experience. It's difficult to understand that. So even while the Enugu government itself is making a lot of noise, they too should understand that they are fault here. The scope of the contract is very, very important. There is default already. So you see, just like the Bible says, foundation was destroyed, what would the righteous do? The foundation, not only they gave the contract wrongly, they took everything and gave to one person. So both parties are at default here. You are a contractor. They give you 22 projects and you accept that project. What kind of capacity do you have to realize 22 construction projects in the state? Sujimoto itself is also wrong here. The third thing we must understand, in a contract, in public contracts, they always ask for contractors to bring performance bond. For those who don't know what performance bond is, a performance bond is usually a document that you take from the bank that shows that if you collect money for contract and you don't realize the contract, the contract owner can go to the bank and reclaim money. And usually, when that document is done, for those who understand the finance system, the bank takes more than 100% of the bond because it's a guarantee. It's just like if the bank is doing you bank guarantee, the bank will take the money. Why am I raising this issue? If the contract was done properly, there would have been a verified performance bond. And that bond now, instead of Enugu government running helter-skelter to EFCC to ask them to come and arrest Sujimoto, they would have gone to the bank and activate that performance bond, because the performance bond usually indicates properly that in case he takes the money and he doesn't do the job, they just needed to respect the terms of the performance bond and they reclaim back their money. It's simple. Another issue here is conflict resolution clauses. In every business contract, it is mentioned clearly on how conflicts can be resolved. Both parties have not come out to say they actually have been having a series of meetings to seek to resolve this. But I think in the contract, there must be. Because every contract must have disagreement. That is why when they are making contracts, and lawyers watching me will understand this, when they are making contracts, they always include conflict resolution. These are things that we must understand. But the issue here is these people, Sujimoto and the government authorities of Enugu State, don't want to put aside their ego and acknowledge that they failed from the very beginning. In business, sometimes, when you fail, acknowledge that you have failed and make corrections. These are things that two gentlemen would have sat down and look at what they can do to resolve this issue. But no, they are seeking cheap sympathy. One is crying, one is showing pictures. So you see that we are, in Africa, we create conflict more than we resolve them. We create conflict more than we resolve them, of which we just need to sit down on the table. This is an issue that these two companies should sit down and arrange it. Now, I will conclude by saying the weakness of Sujimoto here, which is the problem with a lot of companies in Africa, is that the company is too personalized. Because if the company was not personalized, Sujimoto CEO is not supposed to answer for the company. That is why you see it is important to put a structure in your company. When you put a structure in your company, the load, the weight is less on you. In his video, he said he had back pain. How is your back pain having an issue with the company? If you have put in place a structure, your back pain, or if you are sick, do you think that people like Otedola, Dangote, if they are sick today, their companies will continue? Look at the Access Bank. The chief executive officer died, and the bank is moving on. Africans, we should learn to stop personalizing our businesses. The more you personalize your business, the more you risk that business. But in all to see, I will advise the Enugu State Government and Sujimoto that it's not late to seek arbitration, to seek negotiations. It can be done. In this kind of case, going to court, both parties will lose. And I can tell you for free that in this kind of case, if Sujimoto has good lawyers and good business consultants that can advise him, he will win this case and the Enugu government will pull out without anything. So it is for the best interest of the Enugu government to sit out to look at how they can resolve this thing. One, they can evaluate whatever the guy has done so far in terms of cost, and then they tell him that he should pay the rest into the Enugu State Government coffers. Or they can rather decide and become part and parcel of the construction project and use the remaining money to supply materials, equipment, etc., instead of giving the money again to Sujimoto. So there are a lot of ways that this kind of problem can be resolved. But in a nutshell, what I would like to say here is that if you're doing business, do everything possible to put in place conflict resolution approaches, conflict resolution procedures, so that cases like this should not happen, because they are not good for business.